Hey everyone, it's the tiniest one back with another video for you. Now, today we're going to be taking a look at the X570 Aorus Pro. Now, this is quite a bit before the NDA, so there's only a certain amount that I can talk to you about, and I do have to be quite careful with how I say things. So you may be able to read into a little bit more about stuff if you kind of think outside the box. Anyway, so it's the Aorus Pro, so it's not the most expensive one. I have already done a video on the Master if you would like to go and take a look. So that's up there if you are interested. These are obviously Ryzen 3000 ready. So these are going to be ready for the 3000 series of processors, but they're technically called Ryzen 2 just to make things a little bit more confusing. You can see that it does say PCI 4 ready. That's obviously if you've got a CPU that supports it. But again, I do have to go very careful with what I can and can't say. Yes, I have already taken the motherboard out of the box because I did just want to give you a quick scan of what's inside. You get 4 SATA cables, you get 2 straight and 2 90 degrees, you get the screws for your M.2, you don't get screws for the board, that comes with your case. I do get asked that much more often than I probably should do. This is an easy jack connector for you to be able to put your case connectors in, like the power switch and all that sort of stuff. You get an RGB extension cable, you get a multilingual guide, you get your driver CD, the manual, and you get an Aorus badge for your case should you want to use it. So our first glimpse of the board itself. Now, because I can't really say a great deal about a lot of what's going on underneath the hood, there will be no performance or anything like that. This is very much just a kind of visual preview. It means that I can show you kind of up close with the board and we can just spend time having a look around. Now, don't forget you can pause if you would like a better view of something, and I can mess around with the camera and make it focus in different places so that you can get an idea. So we've got our first fan header there next door to the 4 and the 8-pin 4 and the 8-pin CPU power connectors. When we pan across, we go past one of the VRM heatsinks, which I will come back to later, and then you can see that you've got a section up in the top right hand corner. You've got CPU optional there, and then your normal CPU fan. I'll pop that header down. You can see some striping there, which does go across the board. When we come down a little bit, you can see that you've got your Q Flash Plus switch, and that is so that you can update the BIOS without a CPU in it, like some of the other manufacturers are already doing, and there's a header for that on the back of the board. We come down a little bit more, you can see the 24 pin, you can see the braced DIMM slots there for the memory. But if we come back in nice and close, you can see that you get another 3 PWM fan headers there. There's also a temperature probe there as well, if you hadn't twigged. Further down, you can see that we've got USB 3.1 Gen 2 external header there. And you've also got the poster lights here. So when it's posting, you'll see it's like VGA, CPU, DRAM, and then the boot when it's going through the post cycle. What you can see here is you've got 6 SATAs, but on that it says, there we go, the missing component. Oh, it's because I'm zoomed in too much. There we go. I'm going to assume that's a Thunderbolt header that's missing, but we're never going to know. And then if we come down a little bit further, down in the bottom corner, what we can see is we've got a clear CMOS dip switch there, jumper is the word I was looking for. Front panel headers there so that you can connect all the front panel switches and your LEDs. When we come across, you can see 2 USB 3s there. I'll change the camera angle a little bit so we can see a little bit more. There we go. And then we've got another fan header, 2 USB 2 headers there. It gets difficult because the motherboard stand that I'm using is it's like on a recess. Look, you can see it goes down at the edge. Anyway, then we've got the audio front panel connector there. You can see, in fact, if I do this, and I'll keep hold of it, that you've got another header there for the RGB and then RGB addressable. God, I mixed my words up today. And we've got WEMA capacitors and Japanese capacitors there for the audio. Give you a good look back at the stripes across the board that I said to you about. We can see that we have a fan across the chipset. We don't know whether that's going to be on or noisy or anything yet, because I can't talk to you about performance. What you can see is you get a couple of M.2 headers there with heat sinks, and then round the back of the board you can see that we got 4 USBs up here, a HDMI for if those of you, any of you out there, do end up getting one of the APUs. I don't think whether I would. Yeah, anyway, we'll see. So that's your BIOS header there for if you're going to use the Q flash thing. And you got some more USBs here, USB 3.1 Gen 2 A and C, Gigabit Ethernet, audio out on the back of the board. And then we can have a look at the power section on the board. You can see that the bulk of the phases are along the back with this finned heatsink. Now that gives us a lot more surface area. It's actually a lot more efficient than this lump of aluminium over here doing the other ones. Now there's only 4 chokes that I can see at the top here and a couple of capacitors, so that might be for like the SoC on the CPU itself, but I think the bulk of the phase array kind of like chokes and everything that are over here will be for the main CPU feed, and that's why it's got that better heatsink on it. It is a shame that they don't match, but it's probably saved them a few dollars, so that's why they can kind of knock the price down that little bit more on it. The I/O cover on the back is all plastic, but it doesn't look out of place. It doesn't look, you know, too plasticky. I think they've done a relatively good job of trying to, you know, make that look as good as possible. Although, from looking at it, there's not any like major airflow going on with it or anything like that. So it is literally just a cover. So time will tell whether that ends up being like an insulator for it or something, but we will see, because there are no heat pipes or anything going between the boards, between the heat sinks themselves. But it's a good looking board. It's obviously all dark, which is good. It's going to look good in a good range of cases. The full review will be out on the 7th of July or shortly after, depending on how many I do manage to get done in time for NDA. Because that is when the NDA lifts. That's when you're going to see the full range of CPUs. That is when I will be able to show you performance for maybe even things like Navi as well. It's going to be a busy old period, so please check back. If you are interested as well, you can hit subscribe, hit the bell as well, because if you don't hit the bell, then you're not going to get notifications and you won't see my videos in your feed. But for now at least, this has been Tiny Tom Logan, showing you what I think I can do. Hopefully the video won't get taken down. Out.